Hey, hey, hey! What's going on, Mecha Army? Welcome to the Child of Mecha livestream. I am your host, Tim, the one and only Child of Mecha. Running a bit behind today. I don't even have a hat on. What are you gonna do? It's been a busy day. What can I say? It is Friday, thankfully. We're gonna jump back on to working on this bazooka here for our GBWC 2021 build. And later on this evening, I'm going to be on with those guys over at the Gunpla Talk Show at 8 p.m. this evening, Eastern time. And then later after that, at 10 p.m., we're going to do Mechanism. And we're going to probably going to get trashed. Anyway. Yeah, it's a full day. It's a full day. Anyway, hope you guys are as excited for the weekend as I am. Because then I get to rest a little bit. Which I don't get to do during the week. Anyway. Alright, so you guys, I'm not rocking anything today. It's a plain Jane day. So imagine I have something from Child of Mecha Store on. And then what I would normally say is, if you want that, go hit up www.childofmecha.com, hit the store button up at the top. You will find all sorts of hats and shirts and prints of my work in there, so go load up on that stuff. So that went pretty smooth, I guess, right? Even without the products. If you're interested in any of the tools and materials that we're going to be working with here today, I highly suggest that you hit up the little Amazon link below here on Twitch and YouTube. That side, if you're watching on Facebook. Now, I do get a bit of a commission based off the stuff that you buy, but it doesn't increase the cost for you. It goes to help out me, goes to help out the stream, fuel our endeavors moving forward, all that good fun stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, like I said, tools and materials, books for inspiration, gear for streaming, all sorts of stuff in there, right? Now, if you're interested in tools, kits, paints, accessories, all that stuff, Mecha Decals, sheets 1 and 2, those are both in stock and shipping now, right down here at right there at our good friends USA Gundam Store. Adam and the fine crew will definitely have what you need. They just sent out an email today. They got their big restock in, so a lot of that is going to a lot of the orders are going to start to flow again. Continue flowing, because I know they're getting pounded. Anyway, so yeah, so do all that, and if you like this stream, if you get value out of it, if you get entertainment out of it, man, like, follow, subscribe on all of the social media channels and everything like that. And if you know a somebody or a group of somebodies that could benefit from watching this, share the stream with them. It's the nice thing to do, right? Hey, Nick, what's going on, buddy? Mr. Macho Models. He says, sup, y'all? Just doing a drive-by. I'll try to listen in the background. There you go. Rock and roll. Mr. Greg Blair, he's over there in the chat. And Greg, hey, we got the goodies, man. Thank you very much, by the way. So, Greg was nice enough to send me some parts here for the unicorn. Now this is master grade scale, so this could be really cool, but there's some pretty interesting parts on all this stuff here, right? So sent me kind of the gun and bazooka parts and stuff like that. Really cool. We can definitely put these to use, so thank you, Greg. Appreciate that, buddy. Appreciate that. That's awesome of you. And Nick says, oh, actually, I have a great question for me. Sweet. Okay. Shoot. Anyway, while we're waiting for Nick to come up with his question, we're going to working with .005 brass versus plow plate. My favorite term, right? Or plastic sheet, right? So what is .005 in metric? Let me see. Let me get out the little converter app that I have here on my phone. called Convert, and I highly suggest it if you have an iPhone. Let's see, 0.005. Okay, so that's 0.125 millimeter. What is that? That's an eighth of a millimeter or so, and that's super thin, super thin. Brass is more than likely going to be more rigid, but it's going to it's obviously going to be a little harder to work with in terms of, you know, building anything up, right? Nick says, I got some photo etch in the mail this week that I want to use for additional armor plating. I'm not in love with the photo etch I got, and I got to thinking, what if I scratched my own brass? Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, it's going to be, it's 0.005 brass is going to be super thin. Like, super thin. Like I said, that's 0.125 millimeters. So that's just a hair over a tenth of a millimeter. So that's insanely thin. Honestly, once you get that on the mobile suit, the model, there's not going to be much of a level difference, right? And then you have to worry about painting it. So you're going to need to, worry about metal primer first on those metal parts, and then you're going to have to take that kind of extra step, right? And plus, unless you can cut it very cleanly, that brass, it'll have weird edges if you're trying to basically just kind of scratch build panels from that. So, I don't know. It may be more trouble than it's worth, Nick, honestly. He says, is this dumb? Should I just go with plastic sheet to bulk up armor plates? I want to simulate the look of how armor in real life is bulked up in theater. Yeah. I mean, you got to think of the... you also have to think of the scale of it, right? It's not really all that... It's not going to look bulked up in any way, shape, or form with that thin of a brass, right? So, like I said, you're talking about 0.125 millimeters. That's like next to nothing. That's thinner than what my panel lines are, because I scribe with 0.15 millimeter chisel. So you're not going to get the bulk look to that. If anything, if you wanted, reinforced armor, I'd look to plastic sheet, 0.5 millimeter or maybe even full 1 millimeter, right? That's going to give you that bulky look, right? So, yeah, he says, sorry, bulked up. You're bringing up some awesome points. Yeah, I mean, it's just, things you got to think about. That thin of a brass is not going to give you a height difference all that much. If anything, it's just going to look like a raised panel, right, on that armor. And that's really about it. And it's going to be super subtle. It might catch some panel line fluid. It might not. And then at that point, once you have it painted and everything, it might just look like you forgot to sand down a panel or something like that, right? It might look terrible. I don't know. All I'm thinking is that type of brass is going to be super thin, super thin. So yeah, I mean, if you want that armored bulk look, I'd stick with 0.5 millimeter or 1 millimeter plastic at that point, and that gets you into that look. Trying to see if I have any parts that would kind of show you what I'm talking about here. Yeah, here we go. Let's go camera 2 and let's show Nick here. Boom, zoomed in, and so this is the leg of the Jesta that I'm working on right now, right? So This is obviously a master grade, 1/100 scale. All this strip right down here and all this detail, that's all, what is that, 1/2 millimeter plastic sheet and strip right there. This guy right here, this little detail is only, that's 1.5 millimeters, right? And that, I made that to look bulked up, right? Now, if you look at this detail right here, this little guy, you can see that's not too raised off of the surface, and that's 1 millimeter plastic sheet. Let's see. Yeah, see, all this is formed up with a bunch of styrene sheet and everything, but I wanted that, you know, obviously I bulked that up for a reason, right? Same thing with these parts down here. These are all very thick. These are like 2 millimeter bulk, you know, stacked on top of one another. This top surface is up to 4 millimeter, right? So, yeah. Yeah, and Nick says, cool, appreciate it, dude. Yeah, and he says, oh, wow, 1/2 millimeter might be the way to go. Yeah, and that's kind of the thought process, right? He says, the one thing I will say for brass, in this example, is I think the irregularity of the brass adds to the realism in this example. By the way, these are high-grade kits. You know, I'd be careful, though, because you're talking about 1/144th scale kits, right? So you have to imagine those irregularities in that brass are going to be scaled up 144 times. So even a small little irregularity is going to be massive in real life. You know, is that the look that you're going for? If it is, then rock and roll with it. But if you're thinking like, you know, straight off the assembly room floor or something like that, those irregularities may not necessarily look valid, may not look realistic, right? Because you have to think, like, these mobile suits are engineered to exacting specifications by, you know, obviously highly trained teams of engineers, or one would think, right? So, you know, there's kind of a push and pull there, right? So, yeah, he says, excellent point about the scale. Didn't even consider that. Yeah, and that's kind of the thought process, you know. You know, if you're going, you know, battle damaged, you know, dinged up, beaten up, just has seen some shit, then maybe it's a good tact, right? Maybe it's a good tact. If you're talking newer showpiece, you know, display type of piece, or, you know, straight off the factory room floor, something like that, then it may not necessarily be logical to have irregularities in the armor, right? It's all in what you're going for, obviously. And I think anything that you're able to produce in brass, you can definitely duplicate it in plastic, maybe even easier, right? So that's another kind of thought consideration, right? He says, this will be seen some shit, so you've given me a lot to sit on. Yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you kind of have to put your brain in a you know, almost in like an engineering standpoint, right? And almost from a point of view of one of the engineers that actually designed these things, like in the anime, right? And that's kind of what I try to do, is like, all right, so what purpose would this serve? You know, what would this part, what's this need for this part, etc. All that, right? So yeah, in my personal opinion, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just saying, but in my personal opinion, I think that 1/2 millimeter or even 1 millimeter, even on a high grade, is going to give you that bulked up armored look, right? You take something like the Gustav Karl, or that what is it? The GM, that big bulky, that bulldog thing, right? And those are all massively armored up mobile suits. And, you know, if you were to take the base kit and then convert it, you'd have to bulk those up like tremendously. So even at 1mm, even on a high grade, I don't know if that would be, you know, out of scale or uncalled for or anything like that. So yeah, food for thought, man. Food for thought. But I like where your head's at. I like where your head's at. He says, this will be, part of my Viet Gundam Dio I just started working on. Nice. I like it. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So, yeah, you know, mull it over. Let's see. Let's get caught up with everybody else here right quick. Let's see. Let's get... Oh, I forgot to refresh the Mecha Army group. Damn it. Let's see. Waiting for this to refresh. Here we go. Let's see. Wilson Alanea is over there on the Mech Army Facebook group. He says, hey, what do you think of the method of using oil during scribing? Oil? Like, oil? He says, just saw somewhere they have, they say to have a smooth scribing feel. Huh? I don't get it. I mean, scribing is pretty easy in terms of, you know, if you have the right tools, especially with BMCs or MadWorks. So it's like, why do you need to introduce oil that will contaminate the surface of your model? I don't get it. I don't get it. Honestly, I don't even know if I want to get it. You know? Like that's a slippery slope that that whoever said that is on. Let's put it that way, right? Mike Tagaro is over there on the Mech Army Facebook group. He says, hi, Tim. Nice to see you on live. Yeah, hey, what's going on, Mike? Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah. Oh, you know, double it over. Double. No, go. Stop. There we go. Good stuff there. Oh, Wilson sent us a photo. Let's see. Scribing curved surfaces. Use tape. Lots of tape. Dymo will work too. Punch holes at the center... or at the corners to ensure sharp corners. Sand off lips and wash with soap and water. Oil reduces friction and creates a smoother finish. I don't really agree with all that. I'm not with it. Oil? Nah. I'm gonna stick with what I know and what I'm good at. So the oil, it's not coming anywhere near my model. No. Because that just opens you up to... That opens you up to primer and paint adhesion issues. Like if you don't really get that oil off of your surface, you're begging for a disaster. You're like, I want my model to fail. Nah, kids, don't do that. Don't do that. And Wilson says, weird, right? Yeah. Like, dude, where did you see that? Like, I know you cropped out the name and everything, and that's I'm perfectly fine with that. But man, what group did you see that in, or whatever? Like, or did somebody IM you that? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Kelvin Branham is over there on YouTube. He says, hey, missed past week's streams. Please review all just for me. Just joking, but we'll have questions coming up. Hey, that's cool, man. Wilson's getting a good laugh on this one, isn't he? He's going ha ha ha. He says I'll PM you. Gotcha. I roger that. Let's see. William Williams says the North American Gundams were built by the cheapest bid. I mean, technically they all were built by the cheapest bid, weren't they? Oh shit. Wilson, are you shitting me? Oh my God. Nope. Not gonna say a word. Nope. Wow. That's one place that I did not expect that to come from. What are you gonna do? Woo! Alright, hey, you know what? If he's getting smooth finishes out of it, I'm gonna let him be. I'm gonna let him be. Yeah, Wilson's getting a good old laugh right now by my reactions. I'm not, and like I said, I'm not gonna out the person that stated this. Y'all, you guys find it on your own. And Wilson, you know, asked me not to share it either, so I'm gonna respect his wishes as well and just be like, wow, just like, what? Oil? You fucking kidding me? Come on, man. Anyway, hey, our boy Mr. Joe Grasso, old school, man, old school. What's up, Joey? He says, if you want to reduce friction, maybe just use water. Huh, right? Would be a lot better on the surface of your model. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Mr. Brandon's over there on the YouTubes, and he's got a question for us.
We have a question.
Let's see. He says, when you use inflation needles for thrusters, do you do anything to the threads, or do you just leave them as they are? No, I just leave them as they are. I think it's a good look at the end of the day. So no, I leave them as is. So let's see what he's talking about. What Brandon's talking about, you guys, is this right here. Whoop. Focus. There we go. This is an inflation needle. So basically, you stick this, you screw this end into your air pump or what have you, and pop this end into your favorite, you know, piece of sports equipment: basketball, football, soccer, football for the civilized world. And you inflate that thing, right? But for modeling, it has its wonderful purposes. One that I've used extensively on the Hummingbird and on airdrop. So these work really well. So basically what I would do is, hey, Ferdiberta. That is a great name. Ferdiberta. Thank you for the follow. You get one of these. Welcome to the Mecha Army. Hey. Anyway, basically what you would do is you would take a hammer, pound the needle back through into the body of this thing, right? So see, there's the little needle in there. So that would come, you know, basically come through about 3/4 of the length of this. It would still be recessed in here. Then you cut off a respectable length of whatever's left on this needle, and then you've got a nice little DIY metal thruster here, right? And it looks great. So, case in point, that's essentially what you're left with, right? It looks really, really nice. And it looks like a thruster. Weather it, paint it if you want, all that good stuff, but yeah. So, that's what he's talking about. But yeah, we keep the threads. Hey, Ferdiberta! Thank you for the sub as well. Hitting on all cylinders today, I'm going to tell you. It's going to be a good Friday, I think. Right? Hey, Ferdiberta, you get another one. Hey. Anyway. Man, we are behind in the chat, aren't we? Yes. So Andrew says, so can someone explain this to me? I ordered a Master Grade Tall Geese from Galactic Toys last week. It shipped last Friday. Placed another order for tools from Galactic Toys Monday. The tools came today. It's shipping, man. Everything's jacked. Everything is jacked. It's just, as long as it's still in whatever shipping system, be it USPS, FedEx, UPS, DHL, whatever, as long as it's still in that system and it's moving, just, you got to be patient, man. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. I know a lot of, well, there's one there's one order going to our boy Chris Degger that got shipped from the European production facility over to Canada, and they're looking at a wait of about 25 business days, 5 weeks for the layman. Reason being is because most of the shipments are stuck in Frankfurt, Germany, because there's a lack of flights to transport them, out to the rest of the world. And I'm sure that's being mirrored across airports all over the place. So what I would say, Andrew, is just you gotta be patient right now, man. Everything is jacked, and you gotta be patient. That's just the way that it is. It's welcome to the new world, right? So, Ty Fury says shipping is weird right now. Yeah. Kenneth is over there on YouTube. He says, has Tim subbed to Naoki channel yet? No. Just no. No! I respect the man's talent. Don't get me wrong here, kids. I respect the man's talent greatly. I've seen a Naoki model firsthand while I was over visiting with our friends in Dubai over at Otaku ME. Shout out to you guys. I know Mike Tagaro was over there, so he's over there. It's not, I want to try to put this as nicely as possible and as democratically as possible. It was not what I expected. Let's put it that way. It was not what I expected. I'll leave it at that. He's an accomplished modeler. He's got his, all of his products and everything, and all of his special lines and all that. And I completely respect, his foothold into, the community and in the hobby. I just expected something different. And that's all I'm going to say. Chris Pab says, new to me, right? Sounds messy, inefficient, and inefficient. Yeah, the oil thing, right? Ty Fury says, oil, maybe like cutting fluid? I mean, it's just an oil, right? Brandon says, you don't need cutting oil for plastic. Yeah, it's for metal. He says, would just make a mess for cleanup and need to make sure it's 100% oil free before painting or panel lining. Hell, for primer even. Forget it. Anyway, Gert McDirt has a question over there on YouTube.
We have a question.
Hey. He wants to know, he says, I know you went over it, but I'm slow. Wow. No worries, man. That's what we're here for. We're Mecha Army, all right? He says, for priming photo etch with Mr. Metal Primer, what order does it go in? Should I prime the metal before attaching to plastic? So it depends. So basically what I do is this. I hit, where is it here? Come here, you. Ugh. I will hit metal or photo etch or anything with this, Mr. Metal Primer. Now, there are other metal primers that you can use. I just have this and I really like it, and it's always worked for me. So you hit that before you prime with your normal primer, right? Because this will basically form it'll bite into the metal and it'll form a layer that you can then prime and paint over like normal, right? So that's the order. Now, in terms of attaching, it depends, right? It depends on your order of operations. If you attach the metal piece to the plastic, you can still hit the plastic with this. It's not going to affect the plastic at all. This is simply just a metal primer, right? It primes the metal. If it gets on the plastic, it's not a big deal because you're going to prime over it anyway. It's basically like almost like an adhesion promoter, kinda, but it's still a primer. And it is clear though. Keep that in mind. See, clear top, clear product. So yeah, it really depends on your method of operations. It depends on what the photo etch is, right? So if you have to form the photo etch, like bend it or you know, solder it or anything like that to form the, you know, the piece and everything, then you know, you may want to glue that to a part after the fact, right? But whenever you go to prime, hit the metal part with this first, and then your normal primer of choice, your Tamiya L, your Mr. Surfacer, your Alclad primer, what have you, right? Your SMS, all that good stuff. So that's basically what my order of operations is. So hopefully that helps, Gert. William, I'm not going to read it, but yes. Blight me. Hey. He says, that sounds like how you polish a metal ingot or something. Oh, with oil. Yeah, right? VFX10 Viper, Mr. Josh is over there. He says, oil? What? That was my reaction, too. Anyway, Colin Barr says, Tim prefers raw dogging over oil. Yeah, baby. Ty Furious says, if they mean thread cutting fluid, it's for metal cutting to keep down on heat and prolong the life of the cutting tool. Exactly. Like, what I don't understand is that chisels, at least BMC chisels and Madworks, are made from tungsten carbide. And if you guys don't know what that is, that's very, very, very durable material. It's what they make router bit blades out of. That shape, you know, wood and stuff like that. So going up against polystyrene, you don't need it. It's yeah, no. No. Nick says, Mr. Macho Models, he says, for photo etch, I'm planning to soak it in vinegar and doing light sanding. Supposedly works just as well as metal primers. Yeah. The vinegar, I think what that's going to essentially do is etch the metal, if I'm not mistaken. Because vinegar is a very, it's got a level of acid in it. I mean, it's perfectly fine to ingest because it's not a level of acid that we can't take, right? And they put it in food. Why not? So that's kind of what that sounds like, right? Let's see. Charles Dodge is with us over there. He says, sounds like it. R4 says, no one called resin Pabs. Wow. Harsh, Andrew. Harsh. Pabs can come in if he wants. Come on now. Brandon says, I'm going to pick up a bag of 100 inflation needles, $20 on Amazon. Yeah, I mean, you can't beat that with a stick, can you? Let's see. Wow, every time I see that, it's just so damn funny. Anyway, let's see. Kelvin Branham, using oil on plastic is like cutting the end of treated lumber. Pests will eat the open end. Duh, right? Like, come on, man. Fertiberta says, hell yeah, brother. Nice. You know, I love that name, Fertiberta. Fertiberta. What's going on? We could just go on for days and say Fertiberta. Anyway, we won't. But I do like the name. Anyway, Brandon says, oh, never mind. Found 100 for $10.99 on Amazon. Even better. Word. Let's see. Brandon says, but search FAMG 100-piece ball pump needle inflation needles, ball inflating air pump needle for sports balls, football, soccer, basketball, gym. Well, if that's not a mouthful, I don't know what is. Will says, the Pab says, I am going to have to make sure to catch that one. I have some simp weapons I want to do properly. Oh, yeah. Pab says, before that, I currently cover a lot of that stuff during live streams for straightening warped pieces. I think I'm covering this Saturday. There you go. Yeah, Pabs is the one to go to for resin stuffs. Yeah. Written Wisely says, I have a package in Missouri just waiting. A bit disappointed because I thought the item originated within Canada. Yeah, I mean, it could have. Who knows, right? Who knows? Let's see. Pabs says, but has Tim subbed to Chris Pabs yet? I think I did. Yeah, I did, because you show up in my feed, you ass. Jerk. Anyway, Angelo, what's going on, buddy? He's over there on Facebook. He says, how things out there, Tim? Dude, they're rough. They're a little rough. States is hurting, man, with this thing going on, right? Anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there. We're making do. Written Wisely over there on YouTube, he says to Pabs, didn't we go over not summoning yourself? Guess we need to include plugging yourself. That could be taken the wrong way. William Wilms has a question.
We have a question.
Hey. He says, if Resin calls forth Pabs to Child of Mecha show, what word brings forth Tim to Pabs show? It's a very good question. Charles Dodge says, Mecha Decal? Maybe. That's a good one, right? Kirk McDirk says, oh, I have a huge delay. Sorry. No, you're good, man. You're totally good. Don't even worry about it. He says, okay, cool. That makes sense. Thanks, Tim. You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome. Pab says, when I talk shit, it's the only way. This is the way. Andrew says, I get to try Gaia multi-primer on my photo etch and rubbery parts. I think it would sound better by saying rubbery bits. That's just my opinion. Rubbery bits sounds just fun. Yeah. Anyway. Hey, Tashi's over there on the good old YouTubes. He's got a question for us. He says, how do you set off your Gunpla after washing it to keep dust and crap from getting on it again? You just set it out to air dry. Yeah. So, you know, dust isn't really a big big concern in the grand scheme of things, right? Now, when you're airbrushing, obviously, you know, dust obviously can get into the paint and everything, and that's where it becomes an issue. But in general, outside of that particular procedure, dust is not a huge concern. So when after I wash it, especially like after I soak the parts in 91% isopropyl alcohol, again, tough to find now, but we got to deal with it, right? Or wash it, you know, with, you know, just some light soap and stuff like that. Yes, air dry it, let it sit for a good day, let all that water and liquid evaporate. Or if you are lucky enough to have a food dehydrator that you specifically use for modeling, like my dumbass has, then you can pop it in that and just kind of give it a few hours and just let it kind of evaporate off, right? So that's what I would do. Once it's completely dry, then you have a pristine surface. Then use gloves so you don't, you know, recontaminate the surface, you know, with body oils and stuff like that. You know, you're itching your face and the oil on your face or whatever kind of comes off on your fingers and stuff. Or, you know, you're I don't know, you're eating stuff and you got a little, you know, little residue on your hands. The last thing you want to do is transfer that to your piece, because that could potentially cause adhesion issues with your primer. You don't want that. You don't want that paint stripping off after you mask it and everything, right? So, you know, you want to treat those pieces, those pristine pieces, with kid gloves. You know, use rubber, nitrile gloves, whatever, if you can find them. And, you know, get the primer on there as quickly as possible. That way it protects and bonds to the surface. Then after that, then you can kind of get a little laxed, but I would still take every precaution in the world to keep that surface as clean as possible, because you do not want to introduce contaminants onto the surface, right? So kind of keep that in mind, right? Kind of keep that in mind. Mr. Gunpla Ronan Z is with us. He says, hey, Tim. What's going on, Z? Let's see. Gurk McDirk says, I've been trying to find some Gaia multi-primer, but it's been super hard to come by. Yeah, a lot of that stuff right now, unfortunately, is hard to come by simply because Japan is essentially cut off, you know, from the world for the most part because of shipping, right? UPS, DHL, FedEx, they're still getting in and out, but in terms of Japan Post, locked down. So it's just one of those things. So the supply, as of right this second and for kind of the near foreseeable future, is finite, right? So that's one of the things that we have to deal with right now. So it is what it is. Let's see. Seth Boyd's over there on YouTube. He says, hi. What's going on, Seth? Z says, oh snap, Mr. Macho Camacho himself, right? Talking about Nick Macho Models. Nice. And Wilson says, what's worse is he got a video of that. Oh, God damn it. Like, yeah, just, you know what? Let's just show everybody how to do it wrong. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Anyway. Let's see. VFX10 Viper, Mr. Josh, he says, Tatashi, when I dry my parts, I use my salad spinner to get rid of most of the water, then air dry. I mean, it's actually a pretty smart tact. I'm not going to lie. That's actually what its purpose is to dry lettuce and stuff like that, right? But it's when you think about it, it's like a clothes dryer for lettuce, right? If you set it like vertical and you kind of did this, it would literally be like a clothes dryer. Just saying. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard, right? I think it's fun. I think it's cool. William Williams says, I believe Tim showed that he puts his parts in an old food dehydrator, but that could have also been for letting water slides dry. Both. Seth Boyd says, anyone got any tips for building a maintenance bay diorama? Want something nice to put my Gunpla in? That's a question.
We have a question.
There we go. So Seth, what I would probably suggest is, what is it? The Kotobukiya. What are they? Are they Kotobukiya or are they Wave? I forget. They're called chain bases, right? A little on the pricey side. You can get generic ones, but they usually look pretty nice. So, and like the name implies, you can chain them together and make different sizes of, maintenance bays and stuff like that. And then they have little accessories like little cranes and people and tools and all of that stuff that you can kind of scatter about, the little diorama or whatever that you've made out of those. So that's probably what I would suggest at this point, unless you want to scratch build something. Then that's a whole nother can of worms. So yeah. James, yes, what's up, James? He says, hey man, saw your snippet of your live. Yeah, dude. Let's see what James has to say. I love James, man. He is the best. I could have hung out with him for the whole time I was over in Dubai. I'm gonna tell you that right now. He's such a good dude. Anyway, let's see. Nick Macho Model says, life's good, just living that PowerPoint life and trying to wrap some work for the day. Whew. Yeah, the PowerPoints. Ugh. How about that? All right, what's this? He says, hilarious on the panel, scrapping with oil. God, yeah, right? Dude, it's just, yeah, man. It's just funny. This shit's just funny. Like, I mean, if it works for the person, then it works. I'm not gonna. Oh my god, it makes my head hurt. Anyway, moving on. William Wim says foam core board. Oh, to Seth Boyd for maintenance base and stuff. Yeah, I mean, you could scratch building, right? Getting into it. Yeah. Let's see. Brandon says, where has Freddy been? Have not seen him in a while. Yeah, he's doing his own thing. Yeah. Let's see. Written wisely. Tiger drill. right? Tiger drill. It's awesome. I need to get a dedicated plug for that though, because like I said last time, whenever I plug it into my little USB hub, it just makes everything go haywire. So I need to have that dedicated to its own plug, so it won't do that, or at least I hope it won't do that. Right? We'll see. Let's see. Alex Andrews is over there on YouTube. He said, Alex, I'm not going to say that. Nope. Z says, it's Sweet Tea. That will summon Tim. Well, that's going to summon me tonight. I'm going to tell you that right now. Pab says, respect my hustle, man. Watch Saturday at 7 Central. There you go. Ungawa. He's over there on YouTube. He's got a question.
We have a question.
He says, is an ultrasonic bath of warm water plus dish soap for PS, I assume polystyrene, parts good enough cleaning prior to priming? You know, the big thing is, as long as it has a degreaser in it, and obviously most dish soaps do, then yeah, I'd put it on for a cycle or two. And, yeah, you should be fine, right? I personally, and this is just me, I personally like to kind of go that extra step and soak them in 91% isopropyl alcohol just to make sure all surface contaminants are off of there. But, again, if you know, if you run that for a few cycles in that ultrasonic cleaner with the dish soap and everything, more likely than not, you'll be perfectly fine. I'm just a worrywart, and I like to, I overkill everything, right? Like, literally everything. So, yeah, I personally take that extra step. That's all. But, honestly, you should be fine. Yeah. Let's see. Z says, haha, hate PowerPoint after this week. Dude, right? I can imagine. Z was working his butt off on them PowerPoints, right? Let's see. Joe Grasso over there on the Mech Army Facebook group. He says, I've had packages sent from California, sent to the Midwest, then sent back to the West Coast for delivery. Not the strangest thing to happen when shipping, though. I've seen weirder things. James, yes. I love James, man. Yeah. I'm not gonna read James's private messages or anything, but yeah, dude, I'm a little shocked as well. But hey, you know what, dude? If it works for him, it works for him. I'm not gonna knock it. Can't knock the hustle. Yeah, can't knock the hustle. Mike Tagaro also sent us something here. Let's take a look here real quick. Ooh. Hey now. Mike, what are you doing to me? This is awesome. Wow. Look at all that detail. He says, shh, so I don't want to show you guys. But he was nice enough to send me some glorious photos of what he's working on. Wow. I am not disappointed, Mike. I am not disappointed whatsoever, brother. Looking good. Looking very, very good. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Good stuff. And let's see. Joe Grasso again over there on the Mech Army Facebook page. He says, strangest thing I've dealt with in shipping has to do with half of a perfect grade unicorn going missing upon delivery. That was fun. People, man, people. Like, what's wrong with people? I don't get it. First, a half a perfect grade goes missing in the mail, and then you want to scribe with oil? Come on, man. Get out of here with that. Mike Tagara says, I sent you a PM, learning a lot from you, buddy. Oh, Mike, thank you, bud. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Really, really do. That means a lot. Let's see here. Written Wisely says there's an old Army adage about that. It's called death by PowerPoint. Those are the worst training classes. Hey, now. Andrew says, if you know Ryan Bartoletti, he lives on the Osaka U.S. Naval Base, and he got me the Gaia multi-primer along with some Tamiya enamels and master grade sandrock coming via USPS. Yeah, no, Ryan's a hell of a dude, man. Ryan's a hell of a dude. And he's making a kick-ass Gyaradoga with Mecha Decals. Hey. But Macho says, Z, I'm having awful Pentagon flashbacks. Yeah. Joint Chiefs love them PowerPoints, don't they? Yeah. Zafan is over there on Twitch. Oh, it is Kotobukiya, the chain bases. Thank you. I thought so. But then Superset 5 says mine are from Wave. Well, shit. Just look up chain bases. I'm sure you'll find them. Let's see. Jay Coast is over there on YouTube. He says, does anyone get this issue as well? I'm on the process of painting a kit and went to do the top coat. The paint underneath started to crack, thinking I maybe put too much top coat on. Okay, so, Jay, what you're running into is the paint is not fully cured yet. Yes. Now, chances are, and what I'm guessing at this point is that your top coat is probably a lacquer, and your bottom coat is probably more of an acrylic. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what I'm guessing at this point, because that's a very, very common thing to have happen. Let me know if that's the case. Or just tell us what brand of primer that you're using, and then also what brand of paint that you're using, right? Because that will absolutely matter in this whole thing. Okay. Let's see. Written Wisely says someone else recently had a similar problem. I think it was Mr. Metallic, though. Yeah. But that was a bit of a different sort. Because Mr. Metallic is a buffable... it's a different kind of paint. It's a buffable paint, right? So it's got something in it that jacks with the clear coats and stuff, right? So you're supposed to leave that exposed. Let's see. Mr. Z, Gumpel Ronan.
We have a question.
He's got a question. He says, Bandai Open, do they consider a Tamiya model as part of the Dio a third-party part? That's a tough one, Z. I don't know if I'd risk it. I don't know, man. Charles Dodge says, if it's not the main focus of the diorama, would GBWC have a problem with it? Potentially. If it's a whole nother model? Potentially. Yeah. Now, if it's just parts, then that chances are much lower. But if it's an entire kit, like say a tank, or something like that, a Jeep or whatever, or a plane or what have you, they might get their panties in a bunch a little bit on that one. I'm not gonna lie. So, yeah. Zafan says, "Oh, I see. They both make them. There you go. There you go. The chain bases." Brandon says, I just commented on that oil post. We'll see what he says. Oh, don't go starting trouble, you guys. We don't need that. We don't need that. Oh, boy. Jayco says, I've had the cracking a few times and had to strip and repaint. Guess I'll try to be a bit lighter on the top coat. Gotcha. But I see Jay just posted a second ago. He says, I'm only able to use spray cans. I used a Rust-Oleum paint and primer spray and a Krylon matte top coat. Okay. Just what I had lying around and didn't expect issues. Okay, so that I think is where you're running into. Yes, and Andrew right there, he says Rust-Oleum takes about 2 weeks to fully cure before you can top coat it. Yeah. Rust-Oleum for the most part I think is like an enamel base, where the Krylon is more of a lacquer base. Same type of situation. So what's happening here, Jay, is that your top coat is curing much faster than your paint is, right? And what that's doing is when that top coat cures, it contracts, right? It pulls back, and to get into the little nooks and crannies and everything. So what it's doing is essentially it's pulling that paint out. It's pulling it and contracting it with it. That's what you're seeing in the cracking, right? That's what's happening. So what you're going to have to do is if you're still using Rust-Oleum, like Andrew said, give that like 2 weeks, because enamel takes an incredibly long amount of time to fully cure. True enamels can sometimes take months. Yeah, it's stupid to even think about. But even acrylics can sometimes take up to a week to fully cure, right? Lacquers, on the other hand, which is what your Krylon top coat is, fully cure in a matter of hours. So like I said, what you're seeing is it's pulling that paint along with it when it contracts. So that's unfortunately what you're seeing, and that's very common. That's very, very common, especially with people just beginning to paint, and of course using spray cans too. It's the difference between the two types of paint. So yeah. What I would probably do, if you can, obviously if you wanna drop the money, invest in Tamiya spray cans, right? And Tamiya primer, Tamiya spray cans, Tamiya top coat, if you can, because you're gonna get a consistent type of material all the way throughout all those levels, right? And Tamiya is just readily available in most hobby stores. That's why I'm recommending that, or else I'd recommend Mr. Color, what I use, right? Anyway, so Tamiya Fine L, lacquer-based primer, Tamiya spray cans, lacquer-based, Tamiya top coat, usually lacquer-based or acrylic. So either way, doesn't matter. You'll be good. As long as your base coats are tougher, or if you allow the paint to fully cure for a while, then you just lightly mist the top coat on, and then you should be fine. So, yeah. Tough break, but unfortunately it's common. Let's see, William Wilms, Tiger Drill, so powerful that it wants its own power socket. Wow. Superset 5 says, wait, chain bases equals H-hanger, right? I think. I don't know. I've never bought them. I've just seen them, right? Ungawa says, thanks, Tim. I was hoping to not have to wipe every part down with IPA. It's hard to find to get, for the most part. Yeah, no, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. I lucked out and got like 3 cases of it before everything shut down. Like, I really got lucky. So, Superset 5 says, I have 2 H-hangers, both by Wave. There you go. Handren's over there on YouTube. He says, greetings. What's going on, Handren? Nick Macho Model says, they fucking love PowerPoint, right? Tashi says, how does a perfect grade go missing? What? Well, even half of a perfect grade. How does a half a perfect grade go missing, right? Like, come on, man. Crazy. Frankie Rivera, what's up, Frankie? He says, Ryan Bartoletti is a phenomenal, skillful builder. He is. I agree with you. Chris Papp says, Frankie Prime, what up, son? He says, keep up the great work, sweet T2. Yeah, oh, it's going to be on tonight. I'm going to tell you that right now. Z says, not sure, Charles. I ask because I think that they are cool with Tamiya, and maybe it's allowed. I can assure you that Bandai is not cool with Tamiya. It's like the Hatfields and McCoys. Anyway, J Coast says, I'm only able to use... oh, we already read that, actually. My bad. Written Wisely over there on YouTube has a question.
We have a question.
He says, how do you buff Mr. Metal Color? Just get like an old piece of t-shirt or like a polishing rag or something like that and just polish it. Little circular motions to polish it up. And it should start to shine a lot more than what it is. Yeah. Let's see. Joe Grasso says, oh no, not Rust-Oleum. He says cure time is terrible, right? Yeah, well, you learn these things as you go along, Joe, right? We dude, we learned them way back in the day, didn't we? Like 15, 20 years ago. We learned them way back. But there's always going to be new folk in the hobby, and I love that. They gotta crawl before they walk, right? Hell yeah. And that's what I'm here for too, is to try and help make that an easier transition, so to speak, right? So we're having fun answering some questions on here right now, yeah? Andrew says Rust-Oleum takes about 2 weeks to fully cure before you can top coat it. Yep, there you go. Brandon says no starting trouble, I promise, just looking for more detail in his reasoning. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't want to hear anything about y'all causing some